Thank you very much for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let me introduce myself very quickly. My name, as you can see, is Kumaresh Krishnamurthy. You can call me Kumar, if it's too long for you. I am based out of Toronto in Canada. So it's 10:30 in the morning for me. From experience perspective, I've got 21 years of IT experience. I've been in IT for quite a long time. And I played various roles throughout my career. I started as a hardcore developer, C, C++, Unix, Oracle, Java, you name it, I was there. It was very interesting for me to be part of the core technical team because I was able to contribute a lot and looking at the value I can deliver directly to the customer. And I can see my work being used by the customer. So that gives a lot of satisfaction to you, right? So it was a very interesting journey for me. But we had our own challenges, as we can understand that when I started my career almost 20 years back, we were typically waterfall, right? And we were given some deadlines, we were given some scope for us to start and develop. And when we finished the work, there was always the customer satisfaction was not assessed as well as it should have been. So even though we delivered our work in terms of what we should have completed, there is always something which was missing in terms of are we meeting the customer's needs well or not? Is the customer totally satisfied or not? Those were the questions which was always worrying me for sure. But a lot of people felt, developers and testers, usually what happens is they will do the work and forget about it, saying that, oh, I finished my work, thank you very much, bye-bye, see you, and they will go home. So they don't care, the developers and the testers, they may not care if the code that they have written is going to be effective to the customer or not. Whatever they were given, they did it, and that's it. They felt their responsibility is done. And this is where the world has changed. So I moved from being a hardcore technical guy to a hardcore technical architect, and then moved on to management. All right, so this is where my journey started in management. To be very honest, the way it started was, after a technical guy, I really enjoyed my work, but I always felt one thing. Why do managers earn more than me? I was the one who was doing the coding. I was the one who was working at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night and delivering value to the customer. And I wondered, what do the managers do actually to earn so much? And that burning question made me read this nice big book, which makes you sleep. Anyone? What is that big book that makes you sleep? Management book. Come on, you know it. What is that management book? Have you heard of PMBOK for PMP certification? Now give me a hands up or just speak up if you know PMP. Who is PMP certified? You can raise your hand if you want. By the way, there is an option to raise your hand out there in your screen. Is anyone PMP certified? Yes. Pritish, I can see. Vinayak. Okay, few people are PMP certified. Awesome. Great. So this is the idea. I started, I gave the exam, I got certified, and immediately I was in the management space. So I started managing projects in the Waterfall world, and then there were amazing challenges. I really enjoyed the journey, but there were so many challenges, and that's when Agile came as a blessing in disguise for me, honestly. And I really embraced Agile so much for the past 10, 12 years that I am so passionate about Agile. I really enjoy agility. But even with Agile, there have been challenges. And that is why I wanted this webinar to talk about Agile from the base. And I wanted to make sure that everyone thinks about Agile in the right space with the right mindset. Okay. So that is why we have this topic. Okay. So I work for companies like IBM, and EDS and HP. So these are the big companies. There were some few smaller companies, and I've worked throughout the world in the US, in Australia, and Singapore, and all those things. So I've tried to look at different parts, different customers, different cultures, and it has been very interesting for me to adapt. So that's a very quick introduction about myself. Any questions before we move on? All right. So, by the way, everyone has the option to unmute yourself and speak up, right? So we are given access to everyone to unmute yourself and ask any questions you have anytime. Right? Usually we keep the webinar muted, but this is a special webinar. I want people to have conversations, collaborations, discussions, any questions. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Don't worry, it's a stupid question. What would people think? No, 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 no. We are in a safe environment. We know that we are here. Everyone is here to learn. Even I am here to learn. All right. So if you have anything to share, please ask. Don't hesitate. All right. Now let's start with this question. Why is Agile so powerful? And if Agile could talk, what would it say? So I'm going to throw some questions to you guys. And I want to hear from what you think. And I would give the answers to you based on what Agile would say. So I will put my Agile hat and I would tell you what Agile would say. Okay? And this is from our perspective. So the first question is, what is Agile? How would you introduce Agile? So I introduce myself, right? I introduce myself, I give my name, my experience and all those things. And how would Agile introduce itself? What would Agile say about itself? Any thoughts? What is Agile? Speak up. Don't hesitate. If you can unmute, it is great. Please do that. It will make it very collaborative.
Agile is a set of guidelines which can follow.
Okay, I love that. Oh, I'm not able to see who's the speaker. Hold on, let me put it on speaker view if I can. Okay, can you, by the way, if you can, just one request. Okay, please call out your name before you speak so that I know who it is. Sometimes it doesn't come out so easy. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Myself is Giri.
Okay, Giri. Yes, Giri. Yeah.
Yeah, Agile is a set of guidelines which can follow, which will help to deliver any kind of whether it can be a product or project, whatever it may be.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I like the way you said it. It's a guideline. All right, awesome. Anyone else? Any other thoughts, please?
Hi, Kumar. This is Fawad.
Yes, Fawad.
Probably in more layman or simple language, maybe Agile would say to come out from your comfort zone, get yourself structured, and deliver.
Aha. Okay. Come out of your comfort zone. Get yourself structured and deliver. All right. I love that. Okay. Good. Good. Anyone else? I can see if someone has raised your hand, but you don't have to raise. You just speak up. Dejan, yes. You have something to say?
I just lost picture for some reason. I'm going to go in and out, but I just like to share also that collaboration is also the key, one of the keys for Agile, while trying to define the needs that are arising from the requirements.
Aha, collaboration. I like the keywords that you guys are using. All right. So a guide, a collaboration, a change you want to make and adapt, change your structure of doing things, right? This is very good thoughts. Absolutely. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Kumarish, this is Puneet.
Yes, Puneet.
Can Agile also be called as a blitzkrieg?
Sorry, as a?
as a blitzkrieg. The term what we use in World War II, blitzkrieg. It's fast
Oh,
as light.
oh yeah. Oh my God. All right. Honestly, this is the first time someone has given that kind of a definition. It's absolutely right. It's a, it's something which is required to make a change happen and deliver, isn't it? So, can you describe that a bit more, Puneet, if you can?
Yeah, well, I can only give the example of what happened. Hitler, as you know that he wanted to rule the world. He wanted to first occupy the world. So in a fine day, in a morning, he invaded Poland without anyone's knowledge. So they came all of a sudden, and they were successfully able to occupy the Germans.
Uh-huh.
So that was out of the box, and Hitler was succeeded. And then later, you know what the history was.
You know what? I told you that it's not just you going to learn from me, it's I'm going to learn from you. This is something which is important, amazing way of describing it. Thank you, Puneet. I learned something new from you. Fantastic way of describing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Pleasure.
So, see, this is what collaboration is most important, right? Um, And we all need to be humble about our knowledge. We all need to understand that we are all wearing a growth mindset. We are all having a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset, right? So this is something. So what I would say is agile, all these definitions are fantastic, fabulous. Agile is a mindset. Okay, what would Agile say if Agile could talk? Agile would say that I'm nothing but a mindset, a way of thinking. Agile is nothing but a way of thinking. Now, when people say that Agile is a framework, Agile is a methodology, Agile is a process, there are different ways of people describing Agile. But if you think about it, Agile is a set of principles and value statements, right? So Giri, as Giri mentioned, the first thing was it guides us. Why do we need principles in life? Do we need principles in life? Of course, you need principles in life. Why do you need principles in life? Everyone has their own principles, ethics that they follow. The key is to understand how these principles and value statements are going to guide us so that we can make right decisions, right? And that is what I would say, that Agile is nothing but a mindset which is based on certain principles and value statements that you want to follow, right? So that is the idea behind it, right? Do you agree? Any thoughts? All right, perfect. Now, the next part is, if you want to be agile, what should change? I already gave you your answer. So if you want to be agile, what should change? Only one thing should change. Say it.
Mindset.
Yes. Mindset. Exactly. So if you want to be
Mindset.
agile, who was that? Sorry.
Sandeep.
Sorry.
Giri here.
Giri. Yes, absolutely, Giri. Thank you. So if something has to change, that is the mindset. So agile is not difficult to understand, but it's difficult to implement. It's easy to understand, but difficult to implement. Why is it difficult to implement? It's because of the mindset. Now, people have a rigid way of thinking. They have a fixed mindset, and that makes it very difficult for people to be agile. And that is why you have to move away from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. A growth mindset will create options which will open up new ideas, embrace change in a way that even if you are wrong, it's okay, no problem. I don't know how many of you watch this TV show. It's a kids TV show. I don't know how many of you watch that. If you have kids, or even for adults, it is called the Magic School Bus. Have you heard of the Magic School Bus by any chance? No? Oh, it's brilliant. Actually, you should watch those. It's really well made. The Magic School Bus. So, oh, sorry, I have to keep my phone on mute. Yes. So the magic school bus, this is the teacher called Miss Frizzle. She talks about these things. You know, get messy, make mistakes, and there is one more thing. I forgot the last one. You know, get messy, take chances. These three words, keywords. Get messy, make mistakes, and take chances. And this is what agility is all about, right? So when we talk about agile and the change in mindset, a lot of people get confused in the sense that, okay, what exactly is agile? What do you mean by the term agile? Okay, so can you come up with some of the key words for agile? When I use the word agile, what comes to your mind? One of the keywords. When we say, what would agile say when agile is asked to describe its characteristics? Okay, so if I ask question to agile, okay, what are your characteristics? What would agile say?
Move.
Move. All right, good. What else?
Rocket.
Sorry.
Well, I said a rocket.
Rocket. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Was it Dejan or someone else? Dejan, right?
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, it's me. I like to think through Agile that the keyword would be communicate.
Communicate. Beautiful. All right. What else?
I would say flexible.
Iterative.
Flexible. There is one thing. Someone said flexible. Yeah, there was one more after flexible. What is it?
Collaborate.
Iterative.
Collaborate. Sorry, the girl who was talking.
Iterative.
Iterative.
And incremental. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, who was that?
Mithali here.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So, all right, Mithali. All right, great. So, for some reason, usually it comes up. You know, it shows who is talking. For some reason, it is not showing me right now who is talking. I'll have to see why it is not. Okay, it is iterative. Beautiful words, all these things. Yes. So these are the things: flexible, iterative, change, rocket, move. You know, and the keyword, one more keyword I would like to use is change. It's a very important keyword, isn't it? So change means if change happens, how do you react to change? What do you do about the change? Do you become nervous? Are you excited? How do you manage change? How you handle change? So change is a very important keyword because people fear change. People fear change. They don't want change to happen. That's why it's important to embrace change in a way that you can handle change well. All right. So that is one of the other keywords I would like to use. So these are some of the characteristics of Agile, right? Key characteristics. And the biggest characteristics that we didn't use right now. Anyone else wants to contribute to these characteristics as well? Maybe something comes up. All right. You don't have to raise your hand. You can just speak up because I'm not able to see who has raised the hand so easily.
Dan here.
Yes.
Continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. Love that. Okay. And
Fastest delivery.
fastest delivery. Oh, okay. You're improving continuously. You're delivering things fast. But the keyword, I'm still waiting for that, is what are you delivering? What are you delivering?
Customer satisfaction.
The business feedback.
Aha, business feedback. Okay, I like that.
Customer satisfaction.
Huh?
Customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction. Okay. You know the biggest
Product increment.
out there.
Value.
Sorry.
Product increment or program increment.
Program increment, product increment. Yes. See, the keyword what Agile would say is value. Value should be delivered. Now, who defines value? The customer defines value. So whatever answers you gave is absolutely right. those are synonyms for value: customer satisfaction, product delivery, business value, all those things. This is very important to understand that value has to be delivered. So if you have seen something called a house of lean, I don't know if you have heard of this. There is something called house of lean. It is a lean concept. It has been there for a very long time. From Japan, it was introduced based on the TPS, the Toyota Production System, and they came up with this concept of lean, the house of lean. Now, what does house of lean say is that the roof of the house is nothing but value. That is the most important thing you need to deliver. But the question is, who defines value? Now, the customer defines value. But if the customer defines value beginning, when the requirements are being created, do you think the value will remain constant for a very long time? No, the value can change. And this is why we need to have the other keywords in terms of we have to be iterative. We have to have continuous learning. We need to get continuous feedback. So that is why unless we are iterative, we will not get feedback from the customer. So agility is to be able to change course. You need to be agile, isn't it? You're running. Suddenly there is an issue. Oh, there is an impediment, which comes in front of you. What happens? You cannot just keep running and just bang onto the wall. You have to be agile. You should be able to move around so that you can go across and around that impediment and still deliver true value to the customer. If the customer says, no, I don't want this today, my requirements change, my needs changed, maybe the environment changed, there is US elections going on right now, maybe the election will come up with new policies, new procedures. So whatever you're building today, the product is no longer valid because of the new policies. So you should be able to adapt, you should be able to change. So how swiftly can you move? How agile are you? Because the value that you want to deliver to the customer has changed. So that's what agility is all about, all right? So we understand defining agility, the characteristics, understanding agile, what should change is the mindset. And the other question I would like to ask is this. Why is agile so powerful? And that's because of all these characteristics, what we have seen, okay? So the difference between waterfall and agile, I'm sure many of you are aware of that, but again, I'm going to talk about it very quickly for a couple of minutes. In waterfall, what happens? We have the SDLC cycle, software development life cycle. What happens in the software development life cycle? We have got the requirements. Okay, after the requirements is gathered, then the design happens. After the design, what happens? Development, and then testing, and then you deliver. So this is kind of a waterfall way of doing things, isn't it? So unless and until the previous cycle or previous area is not completed, the next section doesn't start. So you wait for the previous one to be completed. So unless all the requirements are not gathered, you will not start with the design. Unless the whole design is not completed, you don't start with the development, right? So on and so forth. Now what happens in this case is the customer, you know what, I'm going to draw this out. So if you can look at my screen. Okay. Okay, there it is. So what can you see on my screen? Nothing, right? So I'm gonna share something. Sharing. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So this is what I just wanted to share with you. I'm sure many of you are aware of this. You can see the whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What color is it? Okay. So what do we have here? We have this, we have this, we have this. All right, so we define the requirement. Okay, define, then we design, all right, and then we develop, and then we demo. All the D's. I like to use the word D's. So this is how it is. The requirements flows from the top in this way, and that is why it is called waterfall way of doing things, because it looks like a waterfall. And the problem out here is this: you define the work, so the customer, you involve the customers out here, and the customer is smiling away, saying that thank you for collecting all my requirements. So the customer starts giving you requirements out here, and afterwards you say that customer, I understand all the requirements, thank you very much, everything is documented. You take a sign off from the customer saying that perfect, we are good to go. All right, and then you block the customer off, and then you start designing, right, developing, and then testing, and then now you'll have to do demo. This is where the customer comes in as well, right? Now what happens? Is the customer going to be happy or what? What do you think? The customer is not going to be happy, because whatever you demo to the customer will say, no, this is not what I wanted. I wanted something else. And then you say, no, this is what you have signed off. Look at the documents. And the customer will say, yeah, this is what I signed off, but this is not what I meant. This is not what this is what I signed off. This is not what I meant. Now the problem is this. This is not what you meant, which means you have interpreted the requirements differently what the customer actually really wanted, isn't it? And that was the problem. So, when I was working as a product owner and a Scrum Master, and this is what happened. In fact, you know what? Even before that, when I was working in the Waterfall environment as a business analyst, now think about this. I was working as a business analyst. Now, what was happening was I was writing use cases. Big use cases, and we took a sign off from the customers, and then we gave it to the customer. All right, and the customer say, yeah, this is good, this is what I want, and then we develop everything. And there is one word or one statement that the customer gave me at that time, which still, I remember it very well because it makes so much sense. Now, when we delivered it to the customer at the end of the day, the customer looked at it and said this sentence. So she said that you gave me what I asked for, but that is not what I need. You get the idea? You gave me what I asked for, but that is not what I need. The problem was because there was a signed up document based on what the customer had thought through long before, we developed purely based on the document. But Agile is so powerful because it removes this, right? So let me do this, all right? So this waterfall way of thinking is not good. So what we need to do is change our way of thinking. How do we do that? Okay, I need to clear this off, sorry. Erase drawings. Okay, now what I would say is this. So coming back to the waterfall way of agile way of doing things is the same scenario we have here. We define, we design, we develop, and then we demo. The main thing is this: we divide the work in such a way that we make it iterative. I'm sure many of you would have seen this. So, but just for the sake of people who are new to Agile, just understand that this is defining the requirements, this is designing the requirements, this is developing, and then this is demo. But you are actually doing a vertical slice and delivering only the piece which is most important for the customer, and this is what we call it the MVP, the minimum viable product, or MMF. So MVP and MMF, these are two very key words, big words. We are going to talk about it briefly to understand what exactly these two keywords mean. All right. So you deliver this to the customer, and the customer will give you feedback saying that, yeah, you're on the right track. Thank you. This is what I wanted. Right. And then you get a go ahead to go for the next piece of work. So, for example, as an analogy, because I believe that people like to understand and learn from analogies. So, give you an analogy. If you want to build a website like Amazon, so the customer will say that I want an Amazon website, but what are the features? There are multiple features I want in my website. So one of the first features, and we will ask, what is the most important feature? What is the most important thing that you want from the website? What is your MVP, which will provide you value immediately? And the customer will think about it and say that, you know what, homepage. Homepage is the most important thing for me. All right, perfect. Don't worry, we will build the homepage. So you will define all the requirements of the homepage. You will design it, you will develop it, you will test it, and then you will demo the homepage to the customer. And the customer will look at the homepage, only the homepage, nothing else, because nothing else is developed yet. And then they will give feedback on the homepage, saying that, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Or you will say that, can you please make a change to this one? I don't like this blue color. Can you make it red? Can you move this somewhere else? Can you please add one more link? All those things will be given by the customer. Now, once you get the feedback, then you move on to the next important feature to the customer and ask that, okay, now homepage is done. And whatever changes you have given me, the question is, do you want these changes immediately, or is it like just, you know, a cosmetic change which can wait for later? So the customer will think about it and say that, you know what, these are cosmetic changes, you can keep it for later. So start with the next feature. Okay, the next feature is probably the product catalog page. You start with that. So the next sprint is nothing but your product catalog page. And that's how you start building value to the customer. So why is Agile so powerful? That's because you involve customers every single iteration, get a feedback, get a sense of what value is for the customer, and then plan your work accordingly. So every iteration, every cycle, we do something called a PDCA. Look at my hand. This is the magic I'm talking about. This is where the magic happens. PDCA. Plan, do, check, adjust. Again, plan, do, check, adjust. The PDCA cycle. You plan the work, you do the work, right? Then you check the work with the customer. Is this serving your purpose? Is this meeting your need? If the answer is yes, then continue with the next feature. Then you deliver this. If the customer says, no, this is not helping me right now because I want this to happen, that's when you move to the next feature. So you make the change happen. So either you persevere or pivot based on the PDCA, based on the feedback that you get. And then the last is adjust. Adjust means retrospect. Retrospect, saying that what went well, what didn't go well, how can we do this better next time? So all these things are what Agile is all about, right? So this is one thing. There is one more thing why Agile is powerful and why people falter. You know, many companies, unfortunately, they falter in Agile way because their way of thinking is different. Now, can I ask you one question? What are the 3 big constraints of a project? The 3 big constraints.
Time.
Yeah.
Cost, scope.
Awesome. Time, cost, scope. If you think about this, these are the biggest constraints of work, isn't it? Any project, if you want it to be successful, you need to have it as one of these 3. Now, the question is, when you talk about waterfall, there are 2 ways to look at this. Okay. The line on the top, usually in waterfall, this is fixed. And the line at the bottom, this is what you estimate. Okay, and this is waterfall. Okay, so what I mean is the scope is fixed. You estimate how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. This is waterfall way of doing things. But the agile way of doing things is different. You have to have a different way of thinking, a different mindset. And that is what I'm going to show you right now. So the agile way of doing things is this. You reverse, you invert the triangle. So this is time, this is cost, and this is scope. This is the agile way of doing things. Do you understand this? What I'm trying to say out here is, in agile, you keep the time and cost fixed, and then you will estimate the scope of doing the work, right? So what I mean is, we say that agile is iterative. So what is the duration of the iteration? It is 1 to 4 weeks, isn't it? So just consider it is 2 weeks. So 2 weeks of work. So which means the time is fixed and the cost is fixed, because you know how many resources are required to do the work for 2 weeks, isn't it? You need to understand the different types of resources. So you need to know that there are developers required, testers required, UX, UI designers required, business analysts required, infrastructure team, operations team, support. All these things are, they are required, isn't it? So you know the cost as well for that period of time. So the time is fixed, cost is fixed. That's when the teams will tell you how much work they can actually deliver. That is the scope. So they will estimate the work they can actually do. This is the big difference between Waterfall and Agile. The way of thinking is changed. It is reversed. So, right now, a lot of companies are getting the concept of agility wrong. I work with companies in their transformation journey from Waterfall to Agile to Scaled Agile, right? And, it hurts me that people are doing Agile without understanding Agile, okay? Without understanding the why behind it. Why do you need Agile? Why is it powerful? And the why behind all the ceremonies that you go through in Agile. Okay, so what happens a lot of times is management will come to the teams, and they know the teams are Agile, isn't it? So the management will come to, business will come to the teams and say that, guys, I want you guys to do this work in this period of time. Go, be Agile. What does it mean? That doesn't even mean anything. So how can you define the scope and time and ask team to be Agile? That's an anti-pattern. That's not how agility works. You need to define the timeline. You need to be aware of the timeline. You need to be aware of the cost. You need to show your wish list. You need to show the teams what you, as business, what you would like to achieve at the end of the iteration, and then ask the team, how much can you do? That is agility, and that's what this diagram shows, right? So these are a couple of things I wanted to share, and there are a lot of things I wanted to discuss with you. Now I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to put some questions out here, okay? And I want you to answer them, okay, from the agile perspective. What is the difference between Agile and Scrum? What is the difference between Agile and Scrum?
Although
Well, Agile is the mindset, and Scrum is the framework that we actually use, or we can show how agile we are using Scrum.
Oh, beautiful, Puneet. Thank you. Now I can actually see people talking. Great, Puneet. Absolutely. That's on the spot, on the money. Very well said. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
Dan here.
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, I would like to say that Agile is more flexible in way of working or implementing stuff. With iterations, you don't expect from Agile to deliver every single time a Scrum is needed. In meaning of value streams, which are again implemented more into the safe as a base, where it combines everything.
Okay, Jay, very, very nicely said. Okay, that's actually, you went quite deep into it, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. It really makes sense. So, any other thoughts? Anyone else?
Scrum is a one type of methodology.
Okay.
Derived
Okay.
from the Agile. Like
All right.
we have other methodologies also like Kanban and XP.
Okay. Yes. Yes. See, these are the words. Sometimes people get confused by the words itself. Scrum was more of a framework than a methodology, I would say. Okay. So this is again for people who are new to Agile and Scrum, who are not in this conversations. I can just see a few people talking. That's okay. I'll give you an analogy out here. Agile and Scrum. Let's understand the difference very quickly using an analogy. Okay. Hope this helps. Now, if I'm in Toronto, for example, and I'm driving to Atlanta, to US. All right. Now, while I'm driving, long back when we didn't have technology, I will start my car and I use the principles of directions. I will know that, okay, Toronto is north, Atlanta is south, which means I have to drive south, I have to probably take east and then go south, I have to go west, then go south. That kind of the principles of direction of north, south, east, west is there in my mind. Now, keeping that in mind, I will look at the map, the physical map, right? I hope many of you remember there were physical maps long back. So when we look at the physical map, then I will, keeping the principles in mind, I will look at the road. Which road takes me south? Which road will take me east? Which road will take me west? That kind of thing. So I will look at the map and start driving the car. Of course, you should not be doing that. You'll have close calls. So, but this is how I will reach my destination, isn't it? So principles being the direction. But nowadays, what do we have? We have GPS. So GPS, what does it do? It does the same thing, but instead of you thinking which road do I need to take, GPS will tell you which road you should be taking, isn't it? So GPS is using the same principles of Agile in terms, sorry, GPS is using the same principles of directions of north, south, east, west, and GPS is telling you what to do so that you take the fastest route to reach your destination on time or before time, isn't it? Similarly, Scrum is nothing but your GPS. Scrum is using the principles of Agile and it is giving you a pathway to success. It is telling you what to do, how to do, when to do, so that you don't have to think. You just follow blindly what Scrum says, what Scrum tells you, and you should be able to reach your destination. So the way you trust your GPS to reach the destination, a lot of companies are trusting Scrum because they know Scrum follows the principles of Agile, and that way you should be able to deliver true value to the customer fast. This is the analogy I like to use because Scrum uses the principles of Agile for you to reach destinations. But as Giri mentioned, there are other processes, techniques to be Agile as well. Scrum is just one of them. There is Kanban. There is, safe, scaled Agile. There is disciplined Agile. There is lean way of thinking. So there are different ways to actually deliver true value to the customers, right? There is XP, extreme programming practices, and so on and so forth. So Agile is nothing but an umbrella of a lot of practices which can be used to deliver value to the customer, right? So, but the important thing is to understand, a lot of people are just, so yeah, the question is, this is what Agile would ask you, is every project Agileable? What would you say? Is every project Agileable? That may not be even a word, but you understand what I'm trying to ask. What do you think?
Well, not exactly.
Yes, it is.
No.
Wherever the scope is fixed or there are no changes going to happen on the way till the time of the delivery, then that can be taken without Agile.
So what would Agile say? That is true. Agile would say not every project is Agileable. Okay, exactly. Now I will give you a simple scenario. Okay, and you tell me if that makes sense or not. Again, analogy helps to understand this, right? So the question is every project agileable? Now think about the scenario that you want to construct a building. Okay, you want to construct a tall building, and can you say that, you know what, I know the high level requirement, but I also know that the requirement can change, but I don't care about that. I will only focus on the first 3 floors. And I want to construct the building keeping the first 3 floors in mind. I will think about the rest later. Can you do that? Can you do that?
Yes, because end goal can be unknown in Agile. You need to start and iterate. You don't go for perfection. You go for quality with each iteration when it comes to Agile.
I like the way you think, but the question is this agileable? Can you say that I don't know how tall the building is? I'm just focusing on the first 3 floors. I'm going to construct the building of the first 3 floors and then worry about the rest. Even if the scope, it's okay. Can you do that in constructing a building? You cannot.
No, we can't.
No, not like that.
Exactly, isn't it? The thing is, you need to know how tall the building has to be. You need to know there is a swimming pool on the top of the building. It's a 100-story building. There's a swimming pool on the top. There is a slide which goes from the 100th floor to the 50th floor. Something, all these requirements has to be clear, because based on these requirements, that's when foundation, isn't it? The building strength depends on having full clarity about the building itself. Isn't it? So you cannot do this in an agile fashion. You have to have complete requirements, complete details of the building. Then only you can start designing the building, planning the building, setting the the foundations in place, and making the building strong. And that is why this building construction cannot be done in an agile fashion. But think about this. Once the building is ready, once the structure of the building is ready, once you know where the pillars are, once you know where the elevator panel is, once you know where the sewage line is, once you know where the electrical panels are, can't you be agile with the interior design? Right? Can't you be agile with the interior design, keeping these constraints in mind? Can you say that, okay, this can be a 1-bedroom, this can be a 2-bedroom, this can be a studio, this can be a 3-bedroom, and afterwards you will think about it and say that, you know what, I changed my mind. Instead of this being a 3-bedroom, I'll make this a 2-bedroom, I'll make that a studio, I'll make this a 3-bedroom. You can do that, isn't it? Right? So you are flexible till the time you are aware of the constraints. And this is what it is. When I do transformation projects for government entities like Homeland Security and all those things, right, in the US, what happens is government projects, they have so many constraints. The mistake I used to make before, long back, was I used to be so passionate about Agile, and I used to make everyone become Agile. No, Agile is the way, Agile is the way, Agile is the way. And I soon realized that is a mistake. I soon realized that's a mistake, because we need to understand every organization, because their challenges are different. Their constraints are different. Their approach is different. Their wow is different. You know what is wow? W-O-W, what is wow? Wow means the way of working. The way of working is different. So we need to understand the context and then think, where can you apply Agile or where can you apply Waterfall? And this is where the hybrid model comes in, right? And this is where the hybrid model comes in. Even when you're constructing a building, you know which section has to be Waterfall-based planning, which section can be Agile-based planning. So the overall building project, the product that you're building, can be a hybrid model by understanding where you want to apply Waterfall and Agile, and so on. And this is a very important understanding which is required, keeping agility in mind. But having said that, I would still say, for every project, start by thinking from an Agile perspective. Don't start by thinking from a Waterfall perspective, because every project can be done in a Waterfall fashion, yes, but it won't be effective. It's a different thing. But always think from an Agile fashion, saying that, can we do this in an Agile fashion? and then take feedback saying that, okay, no, maybe this section we cannot do it in an agile fashion because of these constraints. All right, no problem. So what about the next part? Can we do this in an agile fashion? Yes, we can. Then you can use our hybrid model. And this is where companies again struggle, because when they try to be agile, they are becoming fragile. Is it? They are trying to be agile, but they are becoming fragile. Why are they becoming fragile? It's because business, leadership, management, they think agility is only for the teams. Agility is not for them. And that is the biggest mistake they are making. So the teams are trying to be agile, but the business and management, they are still trying to be waterfall, or at least thinking in a waterfall fashion. And this is where there is a disconnect. And instead of the organization trying to be truly agile, they are becoming fragile. And this is where this has come as a blessing in disguise. Can you see this?
Yes.
What is this?
Safe model.
SAFe. Have you heard of SAFe?
Yes.
Yes.
It is scaled agile framework. So what SAFe says is, you can see on the right side, right? I know you cannot see me anymore. This is what it is. Oops. So on the right side, you see there are 3 levels. There is essential layer, there is large solution layer, and then there is portfolio layer. So what SAFe is trying to do is, it is trying to scale agile all the way to the enterprise. And this has become a game changer. Every company nowadays is trying to scale agile to the enterprise level, because they soon have realized, and they mentioned about value stream, such a powerful word. Bijan, what you said is so powerful. Value stream is extremely important in every organization. See, value doesn't follow silo, isn't it? Value, when customer, we talk about customer journey, right, through the value stream. So for example, if I want a credit card, I will look at some ads. People will do marketing. I will look at the ads and I will like this ad is good, and then I will go and contact the bank saying that, oh, I need a credit card. Okay, and the customer will ask for all my details, and then I will have to apply it. After application, it has to go through approval process, and so on and so forth, till I actually start using the credit card. This is value stream. So from the customer's perspective, you need to understand the customer journey through the value stream, and that's when we realize that value doesn't follow silos. Then why are we following silos? So we need to break the silos. We need to have people from different departments coming together as one unit and deliver value to the customer. This is what makes it so powerful, right? So I'm just doing a time check. We just have 5 more minutes. So my point being, we have to have a mindset of agility at every level. I'm not saying everyone has to be agile. No, at least they have to think from an agile perspective. The teams, the management, the leadership, the business, even the customers, the operations team, the support, the infrastructure team, the legal team, the sales team, the marketing team, the ethics team. Every single person, even the HR, they need to think in an agile fashion. And that is why nowadays we have agile for sales, agile for marketing, agile for HR, so on and so forth, because everyone understands and realizes that they are in the same journey. They are all together. Long back, what used to happen is sales team used to go and do a lot of sales work, and they get a project and they are happy. We got a customer, and then they discuss with the architects and say that, okay, this is what you need to deliver. This is what we have promised to the customer, and this is what you need to deliver. And the technical folks is like, oh, this is not possible. We cannot do this. Our product doesn't support these things. But the sales team will say, oh, that is your problem. We got the client for you. Now you have to deliver. That's your problem. Isn't there something which is fundamentally wrong there? Isn't it? Fundamentally wrong. Because the sales team and the architects and the technical folks need to understand that they are all in the same boat and they have to deliver true value to the customer. It's not your responsibility, not my responsibility, it's our responsibility to deliver true value to the customer. All right. So with that, I would say is it's on just 3 minutes left for our webinar. I would like to go on and on and on this topic because I'm pretty passionate about this topic. But I wanted to just conclude by this one statement. Always think, why do you need something? Okay, the why is very important, because unless the why is there, unless the buy-in is there, we will not have the confidence or the inclination to actually change, right, and do something what is right for us. And that's when true agility. So don't just do agile because everyone is doing agile. You have to move from doing agile to being agile, and that's when what matters. Being agile means changing your mindset, embracing the principles, understanding the principles, and believing in them. Unless you believe in the principles and what you're doing, you will not be truly agile. You'll be stuck at what you're doing just by following others. You need to be outside the pack and apply agility in its true sense. Thank you for that. If you have any questions, okay, by the way, before I say thank you and moving on, we have few things I just want to share with you. The first thing is this. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. So if you have any questions, please ask me right away. And this is about me. I am on LinkedIn. So I'm putting it on chat. If you have any questions anytime, feel free to reach out to me. Okay, so this is my email ID and that's my LinkedIn. I've put it on chat for you. I'm open for any questions that you may have right now. So okay.
Yes, Kumesh, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yes. So here, you have also you did mention about SAFe, and our organization is actually using SAFe as the framework.
Okay.
And so this doubt what I have is, when you say that agile is a mindset, how exactly can you actually scale that? I know that Scrum is a methodology or it's a framework, but how can you scale agile? That's the basic question that I was trying to ask many of my leaders as well, but I haven't got any answers. But if you can just show some light on that.
Exactly. See, this is the thing. Scrum is a framework, even SAFe is a framework, if you can think about this, right? So SAFe and Scrum in a way that it is quite prescriptive. It tells you exactly what to do, how to do, when to do, why to do, right? And then you just follow it blindly so that you trust the process by Scrum or SAFe, which is as it is defined. And you know that if we follow it blindly, we will be able to reach our destination and deliver true value to the customer, isn't it? Now, a lot of times what happens is Scrum is not designed or defined in a way that it can be scaled higher up. If you look at a lot of ways of doing things, Scrum says that the iterations have to be 1 to 4 weeks long, right? Maximum the sprints. And usually people look at 2-week sprints, 2-week sprints. This is all from development perspective, technical perspective, IT perspective, right? But this is what I was telling, that we have an issue out there because we are only teams who is technical in nature or development who are doing the work are using Agile. So when we say that the whole enterprise needs to be Agile, we need to scale Agile. Now, how do you scale Agile? There are different techniques of scaling Agile, right? There are different frameworks, methodologies. There is something called Scrum of Scrum, there is something called SAFe, there is something called LESS, large scale Scrum, there is something Nexus, disciplined Agile. There are so many other frameworks which tells you how management, see, management cannot just support Agile. They cannot just say outright saying that I want our organization to be Agile. Teams, you need to be Agile. What does it mean? That is a wrong sentence. You cannot say you need to be Agile. What do you mean by you? We need to be Agile, isn't it? And that is the difference. Management need to know what it is that they must do to be truly Agile. So that is why when we scale up, we use Kanban at the at the management level. And SAFe, if you are aware of it, it focuses on 4 key principles or core values. One is alignment. A lot of times teams who are doing the work, they don't know how their work is going to be affected to affect the customer or the product. They have no clue. Someone asks them to do it, they're doing it without understanding how is their work going to provide value. So that is not scaling Agile, isn't it? You need to create alignment. You need to create transparency. Transparency means whatever is the decisions being made at the portfolio level should be clearly connected to the people who are doing the work at the team level. That kind of alignment is missing. That is why you need to scale, right? So SAFe is providing that clarity, that alignment, that transparency throughout the enterprise. And every person in the organization and understand what it is that they must do to be truly Agile. There is a clear role and responsibility defined in SAFe at every level. Does it help me to some extent? I know it is a big answer for a small question.
So, Kumaresh, this is Senthil. I just want to add one basic point
Yes.
to this question. Right. So, see, I'm not sure who asked this question, but this is my view on it.
Yeah.
Irrespective of using the methodologies, be it Scrum, SAFe, or Kanban, whatever it is, when you are talking about an enterprise agility, where you want to scale Agile at an enterprise level, I think culture is also one of the very, very important parameter which has to change, the cultural mindset, right? So that forms the basis of irrespective of whatever methodologies we use, that forms the basis, that change management portfolio, right? So when there is a larger concentration on that, lot of Agile enterprise agility programs leads to success. And wherever there is a failure, I think it's more of the cultural mindset that takes a backseat,
Right.
in my opinion.
Very well said, Senthil. Very well said. Absolutely. And that is why SAFe is nothing but a collection of best practices which have been there in the market for a very long time. Scrum has been there, Lean has been there, Kanban has been there, XP, Extreme Programming, this has been there for a very long time. Now what SAFe has done is they have just collected all these concepts together and packaged it well, and then they are delivering it to the customer or the teams, right? So you can use any of these concepts keeping your way of working in mind, your culture in mind, your context in mind. Thank you, Senthil, for that. Puneet, does it help? Any thoughts?
If I may just quickly.
Yes, it does. It does. So.
All right. Yes. Dejan, yes, please.
Yeah, just quickly. We are kind of out of time, but just quickly. I work with like large projects in IT, and I just want to point out one thing that I think it's also important when it comes to scaling, is that when it comes to SAFe methodology, they took portion out of Prince, adapted to the communication level, even better iteration, and common understanding through value streams. That's also kind of worth mentioning. If you want to scale simple Agile, you can always use Prince on top and use Agile at the delivery level while keeping communication and everything. But SAFe is kind of better suited for those that already know Agile or Scrum, because it's more like a evolution, I would say, big one on top of Agile when I'm thinking about SAFe.
Beautiful, beautiful, very well said. Absolutely. You know, that's a good point. And Sumanta just mentioned in chat as well that if you like to understand how scaling works, please look up working backwards style, you know, from the customer's perspective. And that's exactly what it is. At Amazon, we do not use any so-called marketed methodologies, right? But leadership principles bind our culture. Beautifully said. Exactly, Sumanta. So this was the idea. At the end of the day, you know, culture makes a big difference. See, we understand Agile, we understand Scrum, we understand SAFe, we understand everything, what to do. But if we don't have leadership support, all these things are out of the window. Doesn't matter how well you know these things. If the leadership support is not there, that's it. And that is why even in SAFe, we say that everything starts with leading SAFe. That is, leading SAFe is one of the most popular courses of SAFe. We want leaders to embrace agility. We want to understand that they know what it is that they must do. And that's when the transformation happens, right? From the top down. Understanding has to be top down, but application has to be bottom up. Understanding has to be top down. The support has to be top down, but application has to be bottom up. This is how the transformation happens, I believe. Any other thoughts? Any other questions? You know, I can still see quite a few people still online. Thank you guys for staying beyond the timeline. You know, it's a very passionate topic for myself, and you know, I don't mind how much time we spend on this one. But just to keep yourself and respect your time, I would like to ask one more time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Or if not, feel free to drop off. Connect me on LinkedIn, send me an email. If you have any questions anytime, I'll be more than happy to be part of your journey in Agile.